Everyone was cheering when my mother handed her the keys. Not to me, to her. For a second, I thought it was a prank. But when Danielle's smile didn't fade, I knew it wasn't. Cameras flashed, champagne popped, and in the middle of all that noise, I felt something inside me just break. That car, the white Lexus Evan's parents gifted us last night, was now a symbol of family love, as Mom called it. But love didn't feel like this. Nova, Mom said gently, holding the mic like a queen addressing her people. We're giving it to Danielle. She needs it more than you. The crowd clapped again. My own fiancé looked at me helplessly across the room. And my sister? She just smirked, spinning the keys in her hand like a trophy. I felt my throat tighten, my eyes burn. I wanted to shout, to ask why, to remind everyone whose name was on that car. But instead I smiled. Because that's what Mom wanted, her perfect daughter smiling through humiliation. Danielle walked past me, leaned close, and whispered, "Don't worry, sis. I'll take good care of your gift." And that's when I knew this wasn't just about a car. It was about something much darker. Because that night, my sister didn't just take my car, she started taking everything. The next morning, Danielle knocked on my door like nothing had happened. She was wearing my old college sweatshirt, the one I thought I'd lost months ago. She leaned against the doorframe, holding a cup of coffee, acting like we were still sisters. "Hey," she said casually, "you okay about last night?" "Okay?" I stared at her, trying to figure out if she was serious. She walked in without waiting for an answer, her perfume flooding the room, and sat on the edge of my bed. "Mom didn't mean to hurt you," she said. "It was just easier that way." "Easier for who?" I didn't respond. I just watched her sip coffee like she hadn't just humiliated me in front of 150 people. "You've always had everything, Nova," she continued softly. "The perfect guy, the perfect grades, the attention. Maybe it's time you let me have something for once?" Her words hit harder than I expected. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then she smiled, that same smirk from last night, and said, "You should have seen Mom's face when I told her how much I wanted that car." She was so happy to do it for me. That's when it clicked. Danielle wasn't innocent. She had asked for it, planned it, maybe even manipulated Mom into thinking it was a family decision. I stood up and said quietly, "You really think taking something that isn't yours makes you happy?" She laughed. "I think it makes things fair." And then she walked out, just like that. No apology, no guilt. Just a trail of her perfume and that ugly feeling she always left behind. That's when I decided, if she wanted to play games, I'd learn the rules. Because sometimes the only way to survive family is to stop playing nice. For the next few days, I pretended everything was fine. I smiled at breakfast, laughed during calls with Evan, and even helped Mom plan the post-wedding brunch. But underneath that calm, something ugly was growing. A mix of anger and disbelief I couldn't seem to swallow. Then one afternoon, Mom called me into the kitchen. She was rearranging flowers like she always did when she wanted to avoid eye contact. "Nova," she started, her tone careful, "I hope you're not upset about the car." I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her hands, perfectly manicured, trembling slightly as she adjusted the vase. "You gave away something that wasn't yours to give," I said quietly. She froze. For a second, I thought she might admit it was wrong. But instead, she turned around and gave me that same look she always did when I dared to question her. Calm, cold, controlled. "Danielle needed it more," she said. "You have Evan, you have your life figured out. She doesn't. She doesn't want to figure it out," I snapped. "You've been covering for her since we were kids." Her lips tightened. "Don't start this again," I almost laughed. "Start what? Telling the truth?" That was the first time I'd seen real anger flash in her eyes. She stepped closer, lowered her voice, and said, "You don't understand the things she's been through. Don't make me choose between my daughters." But she already had. I looked at her, the woman I once thought I could trust, and realized she wasn't blind to what Danielle was doing. She just didn't care. That night, as I sat alone in my room, Evan called. He said he wanted to come over, said he'd heard something. When I asked what, he hesitated, then said, "Nova, there's something you need to know about Danielle." And that's the moment I realized, whatever I thought I knew about my sister was only the surface. When Evan showed up that night, I could tell something was off before he even spoke. He wasn't angry, he was worried. That made it worse. He sat on the couch, rubbed the back of his neck, and said, "I didn't want to tell you this before the wedding, but you need to see it yourself." Then he handed me his phone. On the screen was a message. One Danielle had sent to his friend, Ryan, the same Ryan who was supposed to be his best man. She doesn't deserve him anyway. She got everything handed to her. Maybe it's time she learns what it's like to lose. My stomach twisted. Evan's voice broke through the silence. She sent that a week before the party. Ryan didn't reply. He just sent it to me last night. For a few seconds, I couldn't even process it. It wasn't just jealousy anymore. It was something darker. A quiet kind of cruelty that had been hiding in her all along. I stared at the message until the words blurred. "She wanted to ruin me," I whispered. Evan reached for my hand. "She's not worth it, Nova. Don't let her win." But he didn't understand. This wasn't about winning. It was about truth. I nodded, pretending I agreed, but inside I was already planning something. I wasn't going to fight her, not yet. I wanted her to feel safe first, comfortable, confident that I was done resisting. Because the next time she tried to take something from me, I'd make sure she lost more than she ever expected. She thought she'd taken everything from me, but she didn't know what I was about to take back. The next few days, I acted like nothing happened. I laughed when Danielle bragged about her new car. I helped Mom with wedding lists, and I even complimented Danielle's dress fittings. Every smile, every nod, all perfectly rehearsed, Evan noticed. "You're too calm," he said one night while we were out for dinner. I just smiled. Sometimes silence works better than anger, because it did. Danielle thrived on drama. She needed attention to feel alive. So I gave her nothing. No reactions. No arguments. Just quiet. But behind that calm, I started to collect things. Little details. Her careless texts. Her social media posts. Her private rants that she forgot were visible to her close friends, including me. One night, I found something that made my hands shake. A message Danielle had sent to one of Mom's friends, saying Evan had second thoughts about marrying me, that she was the one he actually connected with. It was disgusting, a total lie. But the damage it could cause? Massive. That's when I decided I wouldn't expose her yet. I'd let her dig her own grave. So I started feeding her small bits of fake information, things that sounded juicy enough to tempt her. Like telling her mom was upset with Evan's parents, or that I'd lost my job offer. Each time I watched how fast those private things spread. Within hours, the rumors reached places I hadn't even mentioned them, and every single one of them traced back to her. Evan asked one night, "You sure you can handle this?" I looked him straight in the eye. I'm done letting her handle me. Because when someone plays dirty, the smartest move isn't fighting back. It's waiting until they bury themselves. It happened faster than I expected. One evening, Mom got a call from one of her friends, Mrs. Collins, the same woman Danielle had been gossiping with about me. I was sitting in the living room when Mom's voice turned sharp. "What do you mean Evan's family is upset with us?" she said into the phone. "Who told you that?" My heart skipped. I knew exactly who. When she hung up, she looked furious. Danielle walked in right then, humming like she had no idea what was coming. Mom turned to her and asked coldly, "Did you tell anyone that Evan's parents were unhappy with us?" Danielle froze for half a second, just enough for me to see panic flash in her eyes, before she smirked. "What? No! Why would I?" I almost smiled. Because I'd been waiting for that exact answer, Mom wasn't convinced. "Mrs. Collins said she heard it from you," Danielle scoffed. She must have misunderstood. People twist words. She said it so smoothly that for a moment I thought Mom might believe her. But then Evan walked in. He'd just arrived with his parents, and he'd heard everything. "Funny," he said calmly, pulling out his phone. "Because I have screenshots of the messages you sent her." The color drained from Danielle's face. Mom's jaw dropped. Evan showed the chat, Danielle laughing about how Evan's mom couldn't stop criticizing the flower arrangements. It was petty, stupid, but it was proof. For the first time, Mom didn't rush to defend her. She just stared, speechless. Danielle tried to laugh it off, but it came out shaky. "It was just a joke." "No," I said quietly, stepping closer. "It was a test. And you failed." Her eyes met mine, furious, humiliated, cornered. But I should have known. Someone like Danielle doesn't learn lessons. She plots revenge. For a few days after that confrontation, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Danielle barely spoke to anyone. Mom tried to keep the peace, acting like the fight never happened, but I could feel the tension every time Danielle walked into a room. She avoided me completely. No eye contact. No snide remarks. Just silence. But I knew that silence. It wasn't guilt. It was planning. One night, I was scrolling through my phone when Evan texted me, "You sure you didn't post that photo?" I frowned. What photo? He sent me a screenshot, a private picture of the engagement ring, sitting next to a caption that read, "Sometimes love fades before the wedding day." It was posted from a fake account. Same style of writing Danielle used. Same emojis she always spammed in texts. Within an hour, people were messaging me, asking if Evan and I were okay. My stomach turned. She wasn't just trying to embarrass me anymore. She was trying to ruin us. The next day, I confronted her in the kitchen. "Delete the post," I said, my voice low. She didn't even deny it. She just leaned on the counter, smirking. "Maybe if you weren't so easy to believe, people wouldn't fall for things like that." My chest burned. "What do you want, Danielle? What's the point?" She took a sip of her coffee and smiled like she'd already won. "I just want you to feel what it's like when people start doubting you, when they stop trusting your perfect little image." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I finally saw her clearly. She didn't want a car or attention. She wanted control, and I knew right then she wouldn't stop until she destroyed everything I cared about. But she forgot one thing. When you push someone too far, they stop being afraid. After that night, something inside me changed. I stopped trying to defend myself. I stopped explaining things. Because what was the point? People believe what they want to believe, until you make them see the truth for themselves. So, I started working quietly. First, I called Evan's best friend, Ryan, the one Danielle had messaged weeks ago. He told me she'd reached out again, asking him to meet privately. I told him to agree. Then, I asked Evan for a favor. I needed proof. Undeniable, unedited proof of what she'd been doing. And Evan, bless him, didn't even question it. We set up a fake argument online, made it look like we were fighting. I even changed my status to, "It's complicated." Within minutes, Danielle messaged him. "Told you she's not right for you? You deserve better. You don't have to marry her just because you feel stuck." She didn't know he was recording the whole thing. Every word, every message, every lie. That night, I sat in my room watching the videos play back, my hands shaking, not from fear, but from disbelief. She wasn't just trying to ruin my image. She wanted to take Evan, too. Evan looked at me and said softly, "You ready to end this?" I nodded. Not yet. I want her to do it herself. So I waited. One more time. I gave her space to think she'd won. Smiled at her at breakfast. Let her drive my car around like she owned it. And when the time was right, I decided exactly when and where the truth would come out. In front of everyone. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't exposing a liar. It's letting them expose themselves. It was supposed to be just another family dinner. A small pre-wedding get-together at our house. Mom wanted everything perfect. Candles, wine, laughter, the illusion of harmony. And that's exactly what I needed. Danielle arrived late, wearing the same smug grin she always did, the one that said I'm untouchable. She hugged Mom, complimented her dress, even kissed my cheek like nothing had ever happened. I played along, smiled, poured her a drink. Let her feel comfortable. Halfway through dinner, Evan stood up for a toast. "To new beginnings," he said, raising his glass. "And to truth, because without it, love doesn't last." Danielle rolled her eyes, whispering, "So dramatic." That's when he pulled out his phone. "I couldn't agree more," he said. "So maybe we should talk about a few truths." The room went silent. He tapped play. And suddenly, Danielle's voice filled the room. Cold, manipulative, unmistakable. "You don't have to marry her just because you feel stuck. She'll ruin you eventually." Mom's fork dropped onto her plate. My father's face went pale. Danielle froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. "Turn it off," she whispered. Evan didn't. He played the rest, The part where she mocked my relationship, bragged about getting the car, and laughed about how easy it is to fool people when you act innocent. When it ended, no one moved. Even I didn't speak. I wanted the silence to hit her, to choke her the way her words had choked me for months. Finally, Mom said quietly, "Danielle, please tell me that wasn't you," but she didn't answer. Her hands trembled, and for the first time I saw something real in her eyes. Fear. But it wasn't over yet, because Danielle still had one last lie to tell. And this time, it was aimed at me. The silence after that recording felt endless. No one spoke, no one moved. It was just the sound of her breathing, sharp and uneven, like she was trapped. Then suddenly Danielle snapped. She slammed her glass down, stood up, and shouted, "You think this proves anything?" She set me up. She made me say those things. Her voice cracked mid-sentence, but she kept going, desperate, wild. She's always been jealous. You all see her as perfect, but she's the manipulative one. I just sat there calm. I didn't need to argue anymore. The truth was already in the open. Evan spoke quietly. "Danielle, the messages came from your number. The recordings are time-stamped. No one made you say anything." Mom looked heartbroken, whispering, "Why would you do this to your own sister?" Danielle's eyes filled with tears, but even then she couldn't stop lying. "Because she never cared about me. She made me feel small my whole life." That hit harder than I expected. For a second, I saw not the cruel, jealous woman, but the broken little sister I used to protect. The one who always felt like she was in my shadow. I stood up slowly. "Danielle, I cared. I always did. But you took every good thing I tried to share and turned it into a weapon." Her lip trembled, but she didn't speak. The truth had done what years of fighting couldn't. It silenced her. Mom started crying. Dad looked away. And for the first time, Danielle didn't fight back. She just walked out, waited quietly, almost peacefully, leaving her glass shattered on the floor. When the door closed, it finally felt like air returned to the room. Evan put his arm around me and whispered, "It's over." But I knew it wasn't, not really. Things like that don't just end. They leave cracks. Because even after the truth comes out, the pain doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. The morning after the dinner, the house felt hollow, no yelling, no footsteps. No Danielle. Mom stayed in her room all day. Dad kept pacing the hallway, replaying everything in his head. The silence between them said more than words ever could. I made coffee for everyone. Not because I wanted to, but because it was something to do. Something normal. When I set Mom's cup on the table, she looked at me like she didn't know who I was anymore. "I thought I was protecting her," she whispered. "But I was protecting the wrong one." That broke me a little. Because for all the anger I had toward her, she wasn't evil, just blind. Blind to the difference between love and enabling. "She'll come around," I said softly. "But maybe she needs to lose everything first." Mom nodded, tears slipping down her face. "I just never thought she'd hurt you like that." Later that day, Evan and I went for a drive. The air felt cleaner than it had in months. He reached over, held my hand, and said, "You did the right thing." Even if it hurt, I wanted to believe that. But part of me still wondered if I could have stopped her before it got this bad, before everything fell apart. A few days later, Danielle texted me. Just one line, "I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a long time, then finally replied, "No, but I'm finally free." I didn't hear from her again after that. But a few weeks later, something arrived in the mail that made me realize our story wasn't over yet. It showed up on a Wednesday morning, a plain white envelope with no return address. The handwriting stopped me cold. I would have known it anywhere. Danielle. For a minute, I thought about throwing it away. But something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe guilt, made me open it anyway. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No drama, no excuses. Just words that felt raw. "I know you probably hate me, and I don't blame you. I hate me too sometimes. I wanted what you had. Not because I needed it, but because I didn't know how to be happy without comparing myself to you. You were always the one they loved most. I guess I just wanted to win for once. But I lost everything instead. Mom won't talk to me. Dad won't answer my calls. And I don't know how to fix any of it. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope one day you'll understand that I didn't take things because I wanted them. I took them because I wanted to feel like I mattered. By the time I finished reading, my hands were shaking. There were tear stains on the paper. Hers, not mine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. I just felt tired. I sat there for hours staring at the letter. For so long, I'd thought she was just cruel, a selfish, jealous person. But maybe she was just broken in ways none of us ever saw. That night, I didn't reply. I didn't know what to say, but I folded the letter carefully and kept it in my drawer. Not out of love, but because it reminded me that people aren't just good or bad. They're shaped by pain they never talk about. And a month later, when I saw her again, standing in front of me at the hospital, I realized forgiveness doesn't always wait for the right moment. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. I was at the hospital, waiting for Mom's test results, when I saw a familiar figure standing by the vending machine, Danielle. For a second, I thought I was imagining her, thinner, paler, hair tied back, clutching her phone like it was the only thing keeping her steady. When our eyes met, she froze. Then she smiled, small, nervous, almost like she didn't believe she had the right to. I walked toward her slowly. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't angry anymore. Just sad. She looked down, voice trembling. I heard about Mom's heart thing. I came as soon as I could. I nodded. She's inside. You can see her. There was a long silence. The kind that carries years of words no one ever said. Finally, she whispered, "I never said thank you." For exposing me. That caught me off guard. She laughed softly, a broken kind of laugh. If you hadn't done it, I'd probably still be lying to everyone, even myself. You saved me in the worst possible way. I didn't know what to say. So I just said, "I missed you." She looked up, eyes red. I missed you too. We didn't hug. We didn't cry dramatically. We just stood there. Two sisters who had destroyed each other and somehow survived. When Mom came out later, she saw Danielle and froze. But then she smiled through her tears and opened her arms. Danielle stepped forward and hugged her, and for a moment, everything felt like it used to be. That night, as I drove home, I realized forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about letting go of who you were when it did. I looked out at the rain, whispered to myself, I hope she finds peace. And for the first time in years, I felt like I had too. Sometimes the people who break us are the same ones who teach us what healing really means.